On this week's episode, can a crowded field make any headways at the box office? What are the best video games coming to your gaming platform this this fall? And we preview WWE SummerSlam. Sort of. All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. My name is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great programs. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without my good friend. He is our burnt out superhero lover of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to check out everything that he's doing today at popculturecosmos.com. Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and so much more. Plus, also order his great book as well, Congratulations, You Suck, today on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It is my good friend. It is Josh Peterson. I know you're a little burnt out on superhero stuff, but we still got to talk about it. But we also got to talk about how you're selling out on Amazon.
I am ridiculously burnt out on superhero stuff. But yeah, book's available on Amazon. Check it out today. There's one copy left, so if you hurry, you can pick it up, snatch it.
Snatch it indeed. I'll tell you what, it is great to hear that the demand is there on Amazon. I'm hoping that there will be a replenishment on Amazon.com, but if you can't get it there, there's other ways to get it, including BarnesandNobles.com. And even if you go into a Barnes & Noble store, you can just request his awesome book, Congratulations, You Suck, and they'll carry it in the store as well. But it is going to be a great show we have for you today. We're going to talk about the crowded field of movies seemingly just upon us this weekend at the box office. Are any of them worth it? Are any of them good? And who actually might come out on top this weekend at the box office? We'll talk about that. Plus also as well, you know what? Disney can do it. Sony can do it too. As far as a superhero type universe coming to television, they announced that they've got plans for it. And who's behind it all? We're going to talk about that here in a few minutes as well. Plus, we have a fall gaming preview coming up on the back end of the show where we talk about a lot of the most important video games coming this fall season to your favorite gaming platform. And then last but not least, we'll talk about a little thing that happened to a very surprise video game store coming up at the end of the program as well. But on top of all that, like the cherry on top of a hot fudge sundae, we've got Greg Hall from We Podcast and We Know Things also stopping by, giving us. It started out as a WWE SummerSlam preview, but it also turned in a state of the WWE with all the stuff that's going on as far as the decisions that are made, plus also the competition coming up very soon from AEW. We go all over the place when it comes to the current state of the WWE as we kind of preview WWE SummerSlam as well. In fact, to me, I think it was a better conversation than just a straight across-the-board WWE SummerSlam preview. So it is very, very cool to hear him talk about what he feels about the current product of WWE, and that's coming up later in the program as well. But first, my friend, it is this weekend at the box office. And we've got a lot of movies. For some strange reason, this has proven to be, I guess I'll say this to you, my friend. It's a dumping ground this weekend because we've got a lot of movies which are not expected to do that great coming to the box office this weekend. Some of those movies, those movies include Guillermo del Toro's latest Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. We've also got Dora and the Lost City of Gold. You know what? Hey, featuring an adolescent or a teenager, a teenage Dora the Explorer. Yeah, I know. I can't believe it myself, but yes, this is what Nickelodeon, Nick Movies wants. You know what? That's what they want. Also, as well, coming to theaters this weekend is The Art of Racing in the Rain and a comic book adaptation of a different kind in The Kitchen. All those movies are coming out this weekend to the box office. Not, I don't really think any of them will actually make a true long-lasting imprint at the box office, which is kind of a shame. Where all these movies were basically trying. It's like a free-for-all because Hobbs and Shaw is still out in theaters. That is expected to do okay in the second weekend. In fact, that would probably, as one of the favorites to go ahead and lead the weekend, along with The Lion King still in theaters and still doing very well. Plus, we'll also, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is still also in theaters, and that could make an imprint this weekend at the box office. Well, spoiling it all for some of these brand new movies that are coming out. But I want to talk to you about this, my friend. All of those movies I mentioned, when it comes to Dora and the Lost City of Gold, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, The Art of the Racing in the Rain, and also The Kitchen, all of them have lukewarm to very poor ratings that are overall from critics, including when you go to Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes, none of them have a really outstanding score. And I'm surprised to tell you this, my friend, that Dora and the Lost City of Gold is not the worst in this batch, which from what I saw in the trailer truly surprised me, because it was really an awful trailer. But I want to ask you, my friend, the thing we want to focus on the most is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, because this is the follow-up to basically an Academy Award-winning movie he made last time, and that's Guillermo del Toro coming back as a director to basically guide this movie, basically tell the scary stories to tell in the dark. I've likened it, from what I'm seeing as far as the reviews, to something like a starter kit for teenagers and kids to get into the horror genre. Because it's PG-13, it's not going to go all the way on scary. And in fact, for those that we've talked about before that are trying to get into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, seeing how that's going to be, quote unquote, Marvel's horror movie, Marvel's first horror movie, this might be a good stepping stone for that. And I want to hear your thoughts, man, because Dora and the Lost City of Gold, The Art of Racing in the Rain, and The Kitchen, all of them are getting panned. The only one that's getting any kind of decent reviews is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, but it's certainly not one of Guillermo del Toro's best.
So Dora the Explorer, for one, just looks awful.
The trailer looks like it's going to be the worst movie ever, and that's what I expected on the reviews. But you know what? They're getting a 50 out of 100 overall on Metacritic, and to me, that's 50 points better than what I thought it would be.
Right. But I feel like the Disney live action Kim Possible had better production value than what I'm seeing in this Dora the Explorer trailer.
It just looked like everybody, as far as the actors are concerned, involved, Michael Pena and all the others that are in there, Danny Trejo, who, you know what, I'm going to give him big props. He saved a special needs child earlier this week after an accident, and he helped that child out in a certain time of need. So I'm going to give him all the props in the world for doing that, and I might give him some slack for being in this movie. So, but as far as everyone else, it looks like they just went there for the paycheck.
Yeah, I don't see this movie doing good, especially in a time where people are craving, more Indiana Jones or Uncharted like movies. I don't think.
But the fact is that they're aging Dora, a little bit older, and they're skewing her towards a teenage market, which I get the fact that a lot of the teenagers now saw Dora when they were young, but I don't think that's really the right market to target.
Right, and it doesn't feel believable to me. It doesn't feel real to me, and not a fan of that. But
yeah, getting back to Del Toro, my friend.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the follow-up to, I think this is the movie
Lady in the Water. No, not Lady in the Water. Shape of Water.
The Shape of Water. I think This is the follow-up to that movie. It's not actually a sequel per se, but it's the next movie that he's directed since that Oscar award-winning movie. And it just doesn't look like it's something that's going to last in theaters or something that's going to leave a memorable mark in his career.
No, but I mean, I don't know, what was that? Crimson Peak was not a movie that really left a memorable mark in his career either. Del Toro is an odd filmmaker in the fact that he has a lot of he hits or he misses, you know, and he'll either make something that's really good or he'll make something that's not that great, but then people will still forgive him. It's not like, I don't think the man is capable of getting a black mark on his record because he's done so many great things and he's so good at bringing out the imagination in people. Whether or not the movie is good, you can still watch one of his movies and it sends a spark to your imagination that allows you to see things and go to worlds that you couldn't go to with other movies. In Hollywood right now, Guillermo del Toro is one of the only filmmakers that is not afraid to make original films. You know, he's not, none of his, Hellboy, granted, is based on something, but none of his films are reboots or remakes of any kind. Like he really goes outside of the box with what he does, and people, the studios don't seem to be afraid to let him do that, no matter how good or bad his last films are. What I like about this horror anthology is that it really reminds me of those shows that I watched when I was a kid. Goosebumps, Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Crypt, right? Is that what that show is called? Yeah, or even like those Scariest Places on Earth shows they used to show on ABC Family. Like he's exploring horror for a younger generation, and we all started out on shows like that. We didn't all just jump into Friday the 13th or Halloween movies. Like we started out small with movies like Halloween Town and stuff like that. So he's kind of, my thing with him is I'm wondering, can he open that door but not walk into it, if that makes sense?
Well, that also got to remember that I believe this is an adaptation, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is an adaptation and that just endeared himself to the project. And you're right, it's not a full-fledged horror movie. It is, like I said before, kind of like a starter kit for those that want to get into the horror genre but don't want to go full blast into Conjuring and all that. So this would be probably a good place to start. It's halfway decent according to what we're seeing as far as the critical scores are concerned. It is the best, quote unquote, as far as of all the movies that are out there that were produced upon this weekend. But still, it is not expected to do that great over the long haul. It's kind of disappointing as a follow-up to what we've seen from his previous Shape of Water Oscar-winning performance. But this leads me to a question I want to ask you when it concerns Hellboy, which you mentioned real briefly, because that was in his past. He did such a tremendous job with that series. It was rebooted this year to critical and commercial failure, and that could very well be one of the worst movies of the year right there for you. What would his influence have been on that type of film had he gotten a chance to go ahead and be part of the reboot? And basically, what went wrong with Hellboy in the first place?
Well, from what I understand, like Hellboy 2 did decent numbers. Like they didn't lose money on it, but it didn't do the numbers that they wanted to. So they rebooted it, and then in this new reboot, it was Guillermo del Toro was not involved. But what they did is they took chunks from all the short stories, like because I'm going through the Hellboy short story omnibus right now. They took chunks of all these different short stories and they put them together, so there wasn't really like a line of continuity that carried them. And then they got too obsessed with over-the-top violence and comedy because they were trying to do like a dark version of what Marvel's doing. It just didn't turn out very well. They didn't stick to they didn't really explore what Hellboy is, which is a character with a lot of, you know, he's a very multi-layered character because he's put on the earth to destroy, or he's born onto earth, but his fate is to destroy it. But he rebels against that fate by doing good things for people. Like he roots out supernatural things and helps people who are experiencing issues with, you know, things that are from fairy tales, myth, you know, horror stories, things like that. And they didn't really explore that in this movie. I think they're just kind of looking to make money or sell action figures or create a franchise. I don't know what it was, but it did not do what it was supposed to. Whereas Guillermo del Toro, while he did stick to the comic books in the first one, he kind of went off the cusp with the second one, and he created a world that isn't quite the Hellboy that we know, but it was still very beautiful.
Well, we've talked about the month of August not being a great month, and it's now considered by many to be the dumping ground or what January used to be for Hollywood out there, as far as movies that are not earmarked for success put on the August slate. The only one that we really thought was going to be earmarked for any type of success is Hobbs and Shaw, and that looks, along with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, to probably both go over $100 million domestically real soon. In fact, we haven't even seen returns yet from China or overseas, really, to any extent when it comes to both those movies. So I'm eager to see what both those movies will do long term. But when it comes to the 4 movies that are coming out this weekend, Dora and the Lost City of Gold, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, The Art of Racing in the Rain, and The Kitchen, which, again, that's a comic book adaptation with Melissa McCarthy, and also as well, where is it? With Melissa McCarthy and Tiffany Haddish, and unfortunately, that is getting ravaged by the critics. And I had to even read up on this, and I didn't even know it was a comic book adaptation because it certainly didn't have the feel of one. But unfortunately, it doesn't look like Melissa McCarthy has that same type of box office appeal that she once did. And this movie is expected to do real bad right out of the get-go. The Art of Racing in the Rain, this is fun. The only reason why this is getting any notoriety is because the fact that this is something Disney still has influence over, because it's a Fox Searchlight movie. And with all the cuts that they made recently, including, I'm so disappointed when I say this, a Taika Waititi version of Flash Gordon with Chris Hemsworth as Flash Gordon, that was cut along with other several, possibly good sounding projects. That was really disappointing when I heard that. So The Art of Racing in the Rain is one of those projects from Fox Searchlight that was still greenlighted by Disney, but that still isn't expected to do that well this weekend. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, Guillermo del Toro. This won't, like you said, this won't damage Guillermo del Toro in the slightest, but it's not something that's going to leave a really indelible mark on his career. And then Dora and the Lost City of Gold, which is expected to do the best out of all those 4, simply because of the name value there. But still, it's just, I don't know. I'm just surprised that it even got any favorable reviews at all. So when you have those 4 movies that are out there, it's kind of like a dumping ground, or a time just as kids are going back to school, or just before they go back to school in many cases, that this just seems like some movies that they want to throw out there for people to hopefully go and check out this weekend. But what are your thoughts out there when it comes to the movies this weekend? Are you going to see any of the new movies, whether it's Dora, Scary Stories, The Art of Racing, or The Kitchen? Let us know, popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Or are you going to go and check out The Lion King, Hobbs and Shaw, or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood? We'd really love to hear your thoughts. Pop Culture Cosmos and Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, my friend, before we head to the break, I want to hear your thoughts real quickly, and I'm already kind of getting a sense of what you're feeling lately when it comes to superhero universes. When Sony announced that they're collaborating with the guys that are responsible for the Lego Movie, and that's Phil Lord and Chris Miller. They're developing a Marvel TV universe for Sony, which might mean some characters in the Spiderverse realm, or maybe something along the lines from Venom, or it could be the Sinister Six, Kraven the Hunter, that whole 9 yards. What are your thoughts when you hear that Sony is developing their own Marvel television universe? Is it really worth it? And does it bring you back any interest at all into superheroes at this point in time?
No, not at all. Like it honestly, it stresses me out because I'm so burnt out on Marvel and superheroes. And I told you this the other night, but like I don't like having to watch 20 different things just to keep up with continuity on the one thing that I do want to watch. And with Sony creating their own, so ABC has their own set of shows, Hulu has their own set of shows, Disney Plus is going to have their own set of shows, Sony's going to have their own set of Marvel shows. And then on top of that, there's still the movies. I am so exhausted of all this side content. If it's just movies, that'd be a whole other thing. But I don't need to go through and watch all this other stuff because it's all going to be continuity, and I don't have the time for it. I don't have the time to sit there and binge 50 shows just so that I can understand what's happening in Doctor Strange, you know?
I just got intimidated when I heard that season 1 of Lord of the Rings is going to be 20 episodes long. But then again, they're spending a whole lot of payola as far as over half a $500 million for this whole thing to get started and kicked off. So I can't necessarily blame Amazon for going ahead and talking about 20 episodes in the first season of the Lord of the Rings series. But you're right. A Marvel Spider-Man TV universe, I'm not exactly thrilled for myself because, again, that is more content to watch than we really have time for with all the Disney Plus stuff, with all of their stuff, and all the other DC and other related universe type stuff that people are out there trying to watch, including The Boys on Amazon, which we gave high recommendations to. It is a little bit too much. It is a little bit too taxing. And I'm not sure if all of it's going to hit on such a high note for Sony when it comes out as far as all the different platforms for it. You know, it gets even worse because we just heard the news that Netflix just signed the Game of Thrones showrunners to go ahead and create their own stuff on that platform. So you know that stuff is going to be high profile as well, whatever they're bringing to Netflix, because they just signed a $200 million deal there. So, all this money going around is great for all these people that are involved, but for us as fans, as viewers, it might be just a little bit too much. What are your thoughts out there? Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's overwhelming, man. Like it's unnecessary, and if you want to guarantee that people are gonna get tired of streaming services, keep making more stuff like this. Keep making more stuff in the same universe spread across 20 different streaming services. And I guarantee you it'll happen by this time next year.
If not next year, it'll happen probably the year before that, because you're right. It's going to be a lot of stuff that people have to watch just to keep up to date on everything. And that could be a problem for a lot of people out there. What are your thoughts out there on all this stuff going on, including the Sony Spiderverse coming to television, also as well the Game of Thrones showrunners getting up mucho payola, $200 million to be a part of the Netflix program, to be a part of the Netflix platform. And then also as well, the guys from the Lego movie, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, developing, like I said, a Marvel television universe of Sony, and then all the other stuff that seemingly are out there that is just on the verge of being produced from Marvel, Lord of the Rings, and whatnot. Is it too much? Please share us your thoughts. popculturecosmos@yahoo.com. Also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos, Humanity Media, and Game Source on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Well, when we come back, it's my good friend Greg Hall from We Podcast and We Know Things. We're going to have kind of like a WWE SummerSlam preview. It started out that way and went into a totally different direction with thoughts on AEW and also as well the WWE product as a whole. This is the PCC Multiverse. And we're back to close out the show. This is the PCC Multiverse. If you need a listing of where we're at, because we're being played all around the world, 7 days a week on awesome radio stations all over in the UK, Canada, the US, and also Australia as well. Check out our listings today at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, and also you can check out our latest and greatest pop culture information on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. So I just want to give a big shout out to our good friends at the Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting. You want to check out our programs there because they play them they play them during the course of the week. Check out their local listings on when the Pop Culture Cosmos and PCC Multiverse are playing there. Cannot thank them enough and their audience enough for listening to cannot thank them enough for playing the show, and also as well their audience for listening to it. And the awesome folks at Gonna Geek, they're one of our many different podcast outlets. I've counted over 30. I know there's probably a lot more than that, but the great guys at Gonna Geek Cannot thank them enough because they've been a part of the Pop Culture Cosmos syndication list for so long now, well over 2 years. Cannot thank them enough for being part of the Pop Culture Cosmos. My friend, I want to hear your thoughts on Congratulations, You Suck. Just tell us again, where can you get that awesome book? And can you give a little bit of a synopsis of about what it's all about?
Yeah, so I'm really bad at saying what my own stuff's about.
It's about a dude, and it's about a dude.
Yeah, it's about a dude whose ex-girlfriend writes a book about how much he sucks, but he's a writer, and she uses his fame to become famous pretty much. So now he's got to deal with the aftermath of living in a small town and having this book come out, and all the people hate him because it talks about what a jerk he is. And it's I can't really say any more about it, but you should definitely read it. It's available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and booklocker.com.
Well, Amazon.com, as of this recording, just want to let everybody know, there's only one left, but I'm sure they're going to replenish it, but not sure when. So if it's not available there at Amazon.com, it's sold out. That you can go ahead and get it at BarnesandNoble.com, and you can also request it for hard copies to actually come to your store, to your local Barnes and Noble. And then don't forget Kindle. It's at a great price on that as well. Well, my friend, I want to talk about, before we go ahead and close out the show, fall gaming preview, man. It's about that time of the year. We're about to get into the nitty gritty when it comes to a lot of AAA games coming out there. I first want to start off with September. In early September on the 6th, you got a big day there because both Gears of War 5 and NBA 2K20 come out right with each other. Kind of not the way I would plan it out, as long as I would try to put it at a different point in time. But your thoughts on Gears 5 and NBA 2K20, microtransactions included, are coming to a console near you.
Before we talk about that, can we just talk about how great Oninaki looks for the Nintendo Switch? Do you see the trailers for that? It looks like a very beautiful game, and I'm very excited about that. But
it does, and if everybody gets a chance, that should be something very popular when it hits the Nintendo store. So yeah, you're right. That does look like a very good game that's brewing. That's coming up real soon.
As for Gear, so NBA 2K20, I've never really had a pony in that race. I don't really care about sports games. Sorry. But so that comes out on September 6th, and Gears 5 is September 10th. It
says September 6th says September 6th on GameStop.
Oh, well, maybe I got the dates wrong. But I don't see them really competing with each other because they're two completely different types of games that probably appeal to two different types of fans. NBA 2K20, I'm sure, has its diehard NBA 2K fans, but Gears 5 is kind of a different type of game. And I don't know a lot of people who like to play those third-person shooters but also dive into sports games. Like, I know a lot of people, like Brian Kane, likes Gears, but he also likes FIFA, but he's not a big basketball player. Anyways, that being said, I don't know. There hasn't been enough marketing for Gears 5 for anyone to really know what it is. I know that they put the multiplayer beta out and people were loving it, but there's not really enough out there to know, like, what is the campaign about? What are we, how many hours are we playing for? What does it look like? Who are the characters? Like, they did a great job marketing Gears 4 back when it first came out because everyone was stoked about that. But now with Gears 5, like, you don't know what you're getting. We're a month away from release, and I still don't know anything about it.
Yeah, Microsoft has not done a great job of promoting it in that fashion. They did release or make available for pre-order the beautiful looking Gears 5 limited edition Xbox One. So that's something I think a lot of people might get into, but still, you're right. Gears 5 has not been promoted as well as I'd hoped, but I am looking forward to it. Plus, as an NBA fan, yes, I'm looking forward to NBA 2K20. Not necessarily the microtransactions, which I know is a major part for 2K's bottom line. As much as I don't like it, it is a major part of their bottom line. So they both come around the week of September 6th. whether it's September 10th or 6th, we'll just have to wait and see for sure. But yes, they both are coming around the week of September 6th, so look for them on those dates. You also have the next week after that on September 13th. I know this is a game you're pointing to as one of the biggest for this fall. I'm just kind of worried that Borderlands 3 might not get the same reaction because I know there's going to be a heavy, heavy push, but there might be a little bit of pushback because Gears 5 and NBA 2K20 will just be out. There's some other stuff that's coming out later in the month that might detract a little bit in sales, but I see it getting a big push and not seeing seeing a success, but will it be to the level that it needs to be, or will it get a little bit injured sales wise? Because we saw this last year when it comes to Tomb Raider and how that got hurt. But with Borderlands 3, do you see that same type of Borderlands 3? Do you see it coming out of the pack and being a dominant force in the month of September?
Yeah, I would say so. I think it's going to sell more than Gears 5 is, but the only thing I would say that would slow down Borderlands 3 is it's exclusive to the Epic Store, right? So when we saw the announcement at PAX, you know, everyone in the comment boxes on every website just kept going saying Steam, 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 Steam because they're whiny little babies. But I think the exclusivity for the first 3 months that it's out might be a slight boon to it. But also, like, I was at E3 and the line to play Borderlands 3 was the longest line in the building. So I'm definitely confident that it's going to do well, especially with all the new stuff you can do it. And you got to admit that, like, Gearbox is really good to their fans. Like, they're giving they're giving you weapons and skins and stuff just for buying the game. So it's not like they're not going out of their way to try to make up for their past mistakes. They're doing a great job of that, and they're reaching out. Randy Pitchford, say what you want about the man, but he's got a good stage presence, and he's out there talking with people, and they're doing a very good job of marketing this game, and I feel like it's going to do very well. I think it's going to sell more than a lot of these other games that come out in September. Ni no Kuni, Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, Dragon Quest 11, FIFA. Actually, probably not FIFA, but I think it's going. I'm pretty sure that's going to sell more than Gears 5.
Be careful of those USB sticks falling out of your pocket,
especially in medieval times. It would seem.
That's true. That's true, my friend. But I think it will not suffer the same fate as last year's Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I think it will not get snowed under. I do think there will be enough hype and marketing for it so that it will succeed on some level. To what extent, we're not quite sure, because you're right. There are some quality games that are coming out that same month, including NHL 20 and especially FIFA 20, which could really put a dent into any of these games. Because, yes, while they're not the same, there are still a lot of people that play both of these types of games, the sports games, and also as well the other games like Gears 5, Borderlands 3, and some of the others. So there's only so much money to spread around. So we'll have to wait and see how that diverse type of sports and non-sports games that are coming out in September, how they go ahead and bounce off each other as far as sales, and who will ultimately come out on top. And we'll make sure we let you know not only on our Game Source Facebook page, but on our Pop Culture Cosmos shows as well. October is shaping up to be something special as well. We've got Grid. That's something that I'm looking forward to as far as a reimagining of that classic game. Just truly awesome as far as back. It's truly awesome when I played it before. I'm looking forward to seeing how it's been revamped for a new generation. WWE 2K20 comes out October 22nd, and again, as with all 2K games, there's still a lot going on as far as the interest towards that one. Call of Duty Modern Warfare, as they get back into Modern Warfare on October 25th, and they just announced, to absolutely no one's surprise, that they are bringing out more annual games year in, year out over at least the next 4 years, which announced in one of their earnings calls earlier this week. Then also you might have a surprise from the Nintendo Switch that might sell very well on October 31st, Luigi's Mansion 3, perfect timing. That's going to be a little bit of a scary game there for you for Nintendo Switch. I think that might surprise a lot of people over the course of the holiday season. But don't forget also as well, a lot of hype is going into The Outer Worlds, which is coming October 25th as well. So it's not a super stacked month as normally October is for a lot of games that are normally AAA games that are normally coming out around that time. It looks like it's Call of Duty Modern Warfare's Call of Duty Modern Warfare's month to lose. I don't see anybody else coming out on top, but there could be some surprises when you look at what's going on in October.
Yeah, so as you know, not a huge Call of Duty fan. I could care less about that. Ghost Recon Breakpoint, I'm excited to play. I got to get a little hands-on time with that E3. Really good game. It's got a really cool color palette that I haven't seen in a lot of video games. Like, it's super bright.
But Ghost Recon Wildlands did not make the numbers and did not do as well as a lot of people were hoping for. So that's why I'm not holding out hope for the same thing for Breakpoint.
Yeah, but I mean, they've done a good job of marketing it so far, and that's something that a lot of Tom Clancy games don't really have the opportunity to have, is good marketing.
Do you think John Barenthal might actually add some spice to the game?
Oh, for sure, because he's become big enough to make, and he seems like the perfect person to be in a game like that. Like, he's become big enough after playing the Punisher, being in The Walking Dead. Like, he's become big enough to hold his own in a video game role. So I'm really excited though about The Outer Worlds. Like, that's something there hasn't been a lot of games. So, a lot of games say the way that you play shapes the outcome of the game, and it doesn't really. It decides certain story points, but in The Outer Worlds, I believe them because I've seen a lot of gameplay of this, and it seems like your decisions in the game really do impact what your character becomes, because there's no rules. There's no rules or guidelines keeping you in place. You could, if you want to be bad and kill everyone in a town, you can do that. If you want to save everybody, you can do that. Like, your interactions truly matter, and it affects the way that other characters in the game see you. And I am just amazed by that, because it's just, you don't get that kind of detail ever.
True. That's very true. And that's something I think a lot of people will be pointing towards too. I did want to mention Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I know that's a game, like you said, that some people could be looking towards to, especially like you said, with the advent of adding on especially with the adding on of John Barenthal, a big name actor, to the actual game itself. That's coming out on October 4th to all the major platforms. I'm telling you right now, my friend, look out for The Outer Worlds. I think you're right on that. I think that's something a lot of people could be very excited for. If the reviews are really good on that game, then watch out. This game could really take off. I think it's a lot of people are liking it to, as far as the same type of enthusiasm for Mass Effect way back when. So I think that's something a lot of people are interested in. And also No Man's Sky, before all the problems and all the promises that weren't kept at the time. I think a lot of people are looking towards that game to maybe fulfill some of the promises that No Man's Sky didn't do right out of the get-go. So that one, The Outer Worlds, is coming October 25th. Talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare, again, also coming out October 25th. I mean, it is Call of Duty's month. That's rest assured, but there could be some surprises in store with Luigi's Mansion 3, The Outer Worlds, and also as well a remake of Grid as well. November, I'm telling you, my friend, your favorite game, Just Dance 2020, that's coming out on November 5th. So watch out for Josh on the dance floor there. But you also have Jumanji, the video game. Will that be more than just a throwaway commercial tie-in to the movie that's coming out, the sequel, Jumanji sequel, that's coming out in December? There's also the major game, I think, of the month is going to be Pokemon Sword and Shield, and I think that is going to sell like no tomorrow on November. And Sword and Shield is coming out November 15th, whichever version you want, Sword or Shield. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Over, which has looked really, really good. A lot of high hopes for that one. That's coming out November 15th. And don't get me started again on the conversation about it being a single-player narrative from EA. That's another conversation we've had on a previous episode that I don't want to get to again, or else it's going to raise my blood pressure. Shenmue 3 is finally coming out. That remake of that classic game, that's coming out November 19th. And Doom Eternal, that's going to be the last. That's going to be the last scheduled major AAA platform game. That's coming out on the 22nd from Bethesda. A decent month, my friend, but overall this fall, I noticed there's not really there's usually in the fall 2 or 3 more big name AAA games that are coming out along with all these other games. I don't see as much on the marquee per se for September, October, or November. But before we head on out, as far as our thoughts on the fall gaming season, I want to hear your thoughts on November and your thoughts on some of the games that are coming out during that season, during that part of the year.
So I let me just say, I love how Just Dance is coming out on Nintendo Wii. Like I know that that's a joke to them, but they're actually doing it. No,
yeah,
they're actually
overseas.
doing it, but I know that they're doing it because it's funny. And I agree, it is very funny to me.
No, it's not coming out. It's not coming out as funny because there's still a marketplace for it overseas. People still play, still use the Wii overseas. And I'm telling you, my friend, there's a reason why it comes out on the Wii. It is not a joke. They do it every single year. It's like the reason why Madden came out on so many different platforms that had already been retired for so many years after they were retired, is because there was still a market for them. So Ubisoft knows what they're doing with Just Dance 2020. There is a reason why it's coming out on Wii, and it's all because of dollars, my friend.
So I don't like those games, obviously, but November is a pretty busy month because if you look at it, like there's Layton's Mystery. I know people like those games still. I've never actually played them, but you look at Pokemon Shield, Pokemon Sword, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Shenmue 3, Doom Eternal. Like these are not small games. These are all very, very big games all coming out within a week of each other. And this is kind of like the last bit before Christmas rolls around. But you pick up Pokemon Shield or Sword, you're looking to invest at least 40 hours of gameplay in each of those. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, I'm sure it's a little bit shorter, but it's still it's not 2007 or 2017's winter gaming season, but this is still a lot of games. Are you going to be picking up Doom Eternal at all?
I'm thinking about it. I'm always on the fence when it comes to Bethesda's games, but yes, I'm thinking about it. I know The Outer Worlds intrigues me a lot in October, and for November, I'm really looking forward to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I may commit to that first before I go into Doom Eternal. It all depends on the advanced reviews of them and how it looks as a final product. But yes, a lot of that's going on. But, my friend, again, we go back to what I said overall. Overall this year, I think there's just about 2 or 3 major names short of what being a great fall is all about. But there's still going to be plenty of time and plenty of games coming out that we're going to spend our time on. And of course, we're going to talk about it here on the show. But your thoughts overall on the fall gaming platform, and is there enough games that you see is going to be coming out that's going to be able to cleanse your palate?
I would say yes. There's enough there because I'm just looking through September to November alone. There's at least 6 games for me to play, and like as someone who doesn't have as much time to play games as I used to have, like this is going to keep me busy. So it's not like there's a dry spell. It's not like it's February through May, when nothing comes out. Like there's enough games here to keep people pretty occupied. And granted, I know this is like next year is going to be nuts because that's the new consoles are coming out. But like this is for the last holiday season of this generation. Like this is still a pretty solid list of games coming out.
Well, if you need a list of what's upcoming for the months of August, September, October, November, and December, check out our listing today. It's available on our popculturecosmos.com site. you'll be able to go ahead and check out what's coming soon to a video game platform real soon. And if you have any thoughts on what games you're excited for and what games you're not excited for that are coming out this fall, hey, let us know. Please, we want to know. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to get your feedback on what games you're looking forward to so we can talk about them as well. Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, also as well, Pop Culture Cosmos at yahoo.com, and Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Humanica Media on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Instagram, and Twitter as well. Well, my friend, I want to thank, before we head on out, I want to thank Greg Hall from We Podcast and We Know Things for sharing his thoughts on the WWE, AEW, and SummerSlam as well. I tell you what, I saw this article and I couldn't believe my eyes when I'm seeing it, but somebody went into a Seattle game shop. I wish it was our friends at Retro City Games, but unfortunately it was in Seattle. Somebody walked into a Seattle video game store and traded in, not sold, but traded in, basically traded in a Nintendo World Championships NES cartridge, which is one of the rarest cartridges out there. My gosh.
Yeah, I saw that, and he didn't
Well,
know.
actually, I'm sorry. The store bought for $13,000 the cartridge, but still, you know, that's crazy, my friend. Why would you go ahead and just walk into a store and say, hey, I've got this cartridge I want to go ahead and trade? And they had to inform the individual exactly just how rare that cartridge was.
Well, yeah, because he didn't know anything. Their theory was that he had collected games when he was younger, and he just didn't care anymore, so he went in there to sell it all. And then they found this cartridge, and he was super surprised at how much it was. But it sounds like he wouldn't have been in there selling his stuff if he wasn't after just a quick paycheck. So I don't think they could have convinced him to keep it regardless.
Well, and let me ask you this: would you have gone to the store and trade in, or would you have sold it yourself?
I probably, if I knew what it was, I probably would have sold it myself, just to see what I could get. Because he could probably, if he put it out there on eBay, what was that other? There's an Atari game a couple of months ago that sold for a butt ton of money too. So he could have probably made more money if he would have gone online and tried it himself. But again, it sounds like he was after a quick paycheck as opposed to really wanting to shop it around.
What rare game would you be looking for if you were a collector and you went to, well, actually, no, you are a small-time collector per se, but is there a game that you think should be, that you desire as far, more than any other?
So I have actually been looking at games on eBay right now, but what I would want is, I always loved, what was it? So they're on place. So I don't know. There's nothing really that I've been dying to get a hold of. I just bought Croc on Sega Saturn, and I've always been a fan of that. But as far as PlayStation 1 goes, anytime we go into Retro City Games, I'm always looking for 3 titles. I'm looking for Legend of Legaia, Urgi's King of the Ring, and the other one was Brave Fencer Musashi. And Doug is always saying that those games, anytime they land in the shop, they're gone within an hour of them being there.
Exactly, because they sell so well and are so valuable. I'll just say this, for someone out there that has those type of games in their closet, in their attic, get some advice before you go ahead and just trade it in, or look it up. It's not too hard on a Google search to look up the value of all these games that are out there, no matter if they're rare or no matter if they're common or they're rare. And in fact, you know what? To get the best advice at all, just go ahead and check out our friend Rob McCallum's film from Rob McCallum Films, Nintendo Quest, and it tells you right there a lot of the value of some of these great old vintage games. So, Josh, I want to thank you for being part of the show once again. You know what? We've got a great show coming up on Monday. Got a lot of things to talk about in pop culture. I know there's a lot of stuff that you want to go over as well, so I'm definitely looking forward to it as we talk about the world of pop culture again on the Pop Culture Cosmos. So for Josh Peterson, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the Pop Culture Cosmos. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great day.